Aya pick for Gumayusi. Let's see if KT are going to actually leave that Kai'Sa open. I don't think so, but they certainly could try to bait some stuff out because you give Sejuani Jax to KT Rolster, and I think you've got a different story than what we saw here in Game 1 when T1 had those picks.
Now, I would agree. I'm wondering where the Kai'Sa pick is going to land, though, because T1, they may even ban it on the blue side here. Now that they have a bit of extra flexibility, the Rel is going to be taken off the board. That is their adaptation from game number 1. But Poppy and Xayah still remain on the bench. And I think not changing up the bans makes a lot of sense on the KT side, right? They're requiring T1 to make those adjustments moving into this game, and they're going to get rid of the Zeri as well. The Alistar, the only thing remaining from their ban list of game number 1. That means things like Neeko, Kai'Sa, still left up. Aatrox, still up and available as well. KT can ban that one away here. We'll see what they do decide to actually remove. I think Kai'Sa makes a lot of sense.
Kai'Sa's the safest one, but Faker on Neeko does sound a little bit scary. You've also given over the Sejuani, and despite an early accident, let's say here for the side of T1, you know, they could have played out the Sejuani quite well, but things fell apart very early, so we didn't even get to see how that was going to work out. I don't think as KT that means that you should just say, well, T1 can't play this. It's not going to happen. I like, though, the Neeko more because it's a really easy-to-pilot champion in lane, and Faker's engages, despite his lack of gold in the last game, were pretty good, too. So it's a great pick for Faker right now. And
I would agree.
The trade-off, though, is Sejuani Jax, Tristana, and you don't even have to necessarily get the Tristana right now. You may still end up with it, because I don't think T1's going to put Neeko in the jungle. Yeah. And you can take the whole thing. I mean, Sejuani, Jax, and then say, all right, what are you playing, T1? We're definitely going to get that Tristana. And the Neeko into Tristana matchup can be a little bit difficult to play because Neeko obviously can shut the Tristana down, can poke a little bit, has a little bit more range. Will be Sejuani Renekton as the consideration here, though, for KT. Just not enjoying the early Jax levels here, especially with Renekton open.
I actually really like the Renekton pick. It's not only, you know, a champion that Keen has played 16 times this season, like just an absurd number. Not quite the win rate that Kingen has, I don't believe, who's still sitting on 100%. But still, this combination is pretty tried and true. The Nautilus to be considered here, of course, Lehens was a bit of a menace on that pick last time. And so that will be the lock away. And I imagine that Faker is going to grab a pick for Gumayusi that he's going to be happy with. We'll see what it is actually going to be. Oh, never mind. The Nocturne does come in. Something that was banned against Oner a lot in the previous series. And BDD thinking about the LeBlanc. This is something we've seen banned, but not picked very much recently.
I personally think LeBlanc is the best answer to Neeko in this meta. It's one of the only champions that can match her on a flank and just obliterate her 1v1. She can't beat you. She can't stop you. She ults on the flank. You're like, cool, I've already done my job. And they'll take the Azir instead here for a little bit more safety and a little bit more prowess in lane. As you didn't go for the Maokai, so you're not taking the Jace here. You've got the Renekton Azir combo, which offers you a lot of early mid-game power as well as some decent scaling with the Azir. Now you're going to start targeting away some of these picks here for Zeus, taking away the Aatrox, and you could ban Jax here as well because Jax does synergize quite well with the engage that T1 have. It's a little bit more difficult to pinpoint what Guma is going to play because the champion pool still fairly open here. Yeah, you don't have the Xayah, the Kai'Sa, and the Zeri, but there's a lot of other scaling picks here and follow-up dive picks to what T1 have. So I'd rather see something like a Jax ban here for KT. We'll see what they decide.
Yeah, we'll see what they go to. The Gnar is going to be taken away, of course, Zeus. Basically his two favorite champions at the moment. The Gnar has been actually very, very good in his hands. And the Aatrox needs no introduction if you watched anything yesterday. I'm really surprised by the Rakan being banned away here because Keria, yeah, he went on a bit of an expedition in the last game, but we've seen Nocturne Rakan be so extraordinarily good, and they instead decide to pick away the Nautilus from Lehens. He is now hovering Taric. But I don't know whether that is actually what's going to happen because, of course, Leona is up and she's going to provide a lot of engage opportunity here for Lehens.
I think Leona is just the better version of Braum. You and I were having a little candid conversation about this earlier before the show. Now, Draven here really suits this comp. Samira, also pretty decent. But I like the Draven a lot more because what you're looking for here is T1 as explosive early mid-game fights with Nocturne, Nautilus, Neeko. dive aggressively and just get this Draven extremely ahead if you can. And what can be a follow-up here for Zeus is a little bit of scaling, but also potentially some side lane pressure. The Rumble,
I like it.
The Rumble is really easy to set up, actually, in this draft. You have the Nocturne on your side, but it is going to be a laning phase where the Rumble should be favored. We say this all the time, but one small error can just delete Rumble from the game. You make one mistake, or Cuz comes up there, Sejuani Renekton gets a kill early, and then suddenly you just make no impact. As a final choice here will be Aiming's champion. It will just be the Aphelios here in this scaling draft. Wouldn't mind it. Doesn't feel great, but it's, I think, the best fit.
Thankfully, it is the Varus instead, although it is probably the lethality variety, so it does feel a little bit like there's a, I guess, use by date on a composition that does have a Varus.
The best pick here, I think, would have been the Ezreal for Aiming. Obviously, it's one of his best champions, but that one was banned away. And there isn't really a great champion here that is going to allow you to escape the hard engage opportunities that T1 have. So both the Varus and the Aphelios are very immobile champions who won't be able to get out of getting caught by anything, even with Cleanse, as you can see Aiming has picked up here. But what the Varus gives you, the Aphelios doesn't, is some follow-up and some range, so you can actually just sit there and wait for T1's engage, and then your follow-up is easier. And the Aphelios, if they come at you hard, you can offer a little bit more sustained damage. You know, talking about regular Aphelios versus the lethality variant of the Varus, which I think we're 100% going to see. Both picks very strong here, I think, with the draft, but the Varus just going to be at arm's length, hopefully for Aiming in this game if he's going to find success, because there's a lot of ways to get on top of this very squishy pick.
Yeah, we'll see whether they can actually snowball it so it finds some effectiveness. If you were watching yesterday, the Varus didn't quite work out for Deft. We'll see whether Aiming can find a little bit more success. Of course, you do need to have the game going in your favor. KT have been kind of used to that, but I love this draft from T1. It is pretty all in for the early game, but I think that they also have a lot of team fight power as the game goes on, and if they can get some cash-ins for this Draven, then it could be really tough for KT, who have solid draft. You know, their top side very, very strong. Feels like a similar version to what we saw from T1 in Game 1. See how it works out on the other side. Ooh, KT fans in full voice today. As we saw yesterday, the T1 fans were definitely winning out as far as those chants are concerned, feeling a little bit more even this time. It's KT all just milling about here towards the bottom side, thinking that they could maybe steal away a first blood, but the 5-point defense system here for T1 is going to work out just fine, and no one is going to overstep.
So the tanks for the Draven are not actual tanks, they're just engaged champions that set him up to press a big ult button and then clean up team fights while everyone is caught in CC. And so T1 can front to back in that way with the burn damage from the equalizer. But I think if this Draven is not ahead and doesn't get a cash in early, if the Rumble falls behind for any reason, just a gank incident, right? Because Nocturne early level is pretty weak. If Rumble's trying to push some early advantages, could get punished, then the game becomes very lopsided. I think there's no world in which when we tick over to 20 minutes in this game and Baron spawns, we don't know who's winning this game. I just don't see it being a close one, just because of how these comps operate against each other. Is level 1?
Yeah, it's pretty volatile. As Hook is going to land max range as the Zenith Blade is going to miss. Aiming's flashing away, though, as Gumayusi's flashing after him. There's an early cash-in, Wolf, and you asking when we were going to know. I don't know whether we know exactly just yet, but it's a pretty good start for T1.
Yeah, and it's a miss from Lehens on the Zenith Blade that starts it all off. They try to play aggressively here afterwards regardless. And as Varus, you have to know that even with Hail of Blades, you're not going to win out the early trades against Draven's damage. His early stats are quite strong. Even at level 1, if he can get into range to hit somebody, he will. And now a flash is burned here.
And Ignite is going to be used here to make sure that Keen gets out of the lane. In the olden days, that would have also given you some extra AD and AP, but not anymore. Just going to send a message to Keen.
Yeah, message received, I think, with another Comet proccing here as well with the Flamethrower. Keen has Fury, though, and is going to trade back. That's what happens in this matchup as Oner at level 3.
Yeah, he is going to bounce on over. Does have the health advantage here as Cuz is going to be tagged with the Duskbringer. No smite to come through, and only going to get slowed down, but is going to be able to steal away the camp. Really nicely done, just brute forcing his way in. As Keen, yeah, he's really on struggle street right now, not wanting to back just yet, and can at least use this minion wave to try and block harpoons. Gets himself the cannon.
Spacing perfect here from Zeus, not taking that turret shot there, still putting the damage on, still trying to push Keen out of lane. And Keen's doing a great job of farming this out regardless here, but is under a lot of pressure. Could look for an empowered stun here if Zeus gets the turret aggro by mistake. But he's not going to make that mistake, and that's going to be that. Just going to use the Fury to clear and back. So first teleport already burned. And this is what you need to do with Ignite because you don't have teleport yourself, but it's a favorable matchup in the early game.
Ooh, Cuz is going to get spotted here by Oner. It is towards the top side. There's the flash forward. And Cuz, I don't know whether he's going to be able to make it out of this one. He's not. No Arctic Assault available. And he is just going to die. That is a second kill as even Zeus is getting ahead. And man, the 3-0 predictors starting to feel a little bit worried in this game.
The early game for this, as you mentioned, the Renekton win rate, 15-1. Only the one loss.
Whoa! That's a flash forward as Stand Aside does come through. Fair bit of value there as once again, Lehens doesn't find a lot of joy with his Zenith Blade. Still, it is going to be a slight advantage there from KT as they get control of the wave.
So Cuz on the top side of the map trying to make a play, it looks like with Keen's teleport, trying to punish Zeus for looking for potentially a plate, for example. Teleport comes through, you set up that kill onto the Rumble and then advantage Keen, right? But unfortunately, he does not find that success. The Rumble picks up an early kill, and Keen, instantly half health here right after his teleport, is going to have to choke through these potions to try to stay relevant.
And this is just a Doran's ring as well. Like, Zeus hasn't even gone for a first back, which is going to be Sork Shoes and just such pain. As the hook is going to connect. Keria, I'm not sure about that one. As the Ignite is going to tick down, there's the Permafrost. He does get within turret range as Gumayusi taking a lot of damage. Just piercing arrow, and Gumayusi's still going to be all right.
Man, aiming, playing with fire on this Varus, but will push him out ultimately, does not get punished there. And this should be this wave pushing through, denying a lot of minions here to Guma. They're not going to stay for the plate here because it's a little bit too greedy, a little bit too low on the health. And we'll try to make something happen, it looks like, as they rotate up to mid.
Faker is in a lot of trouble, but Keen is also in a ridiculous amount of trouble. Zeus going to have to flash to get out of that last turret shot, but still, look at that minion wave.
I mean, Keen's out of this game.
Oh, he's done.
He's done. It's over.
40 CS to 14.
He just teleported. He lost a plate. He has no way to get back to this lane. And Faker will survive that pressure, actually stays here, will greed for another wave, trademark Faker here, but won't get punished. BDD has flash and ult, but there's just too much space between Faker and him, so can't actually punish. And that's 1,300 gold, the advantage here top side. Doesn't even go for the Sork Shoes, just getting some additional AP so he can get the maximum value out of these early levels. And look at this, Equalizer lines up nice, tossing in that Ignite. Huni would be proud.
Oh yeah.
An old SKT Rumble player himself. And this is exactly the kind of lead you're looking for here for T1, and they haven't even looked for a Paranoia or a Pop Blossom yet.
No, and the team fights are going to be just ridiculously strong for this team if Zeus retains this level of advantage, because not only do they have a strong Rumble, but the Renekton's that we've seen be able to mitigate a lot of this. This one is going to be a handbag. This is not a real Renekton in this game.
No, I mean, you might as well be anything else because he is just not going to be relevant unless he gets a ton of help. And that's just going to make the rest of the map so much more lopsided. BDD looking for a potential roam up here, but Zeus is just holding the wave right on his turret. Keen doesn't have 6. He is a potato in this game, unfortunately. Like, he can't do anything. He literally can't farm. Yep. He cannot clear anything. He's sitting in experience range to get level 6. And that's the best he could hope for. At least he wasn't zoned out of that.
Yeah, he did at least manage to get the level 6, so there's that. So Dominus is now available. No flash for Zeus, and a flash is up for Keen, but...
You ever wonder what it's like to be a top laner in solo queue?
Yeah.
It is on display here, and it just... There's nothing you could do. Now the wave will finally push through, but look at this, Oner level 6. It is not going to be the free defense of wave that Keen is looking for. Look at the poke coming through. And Equalizer's back up. Keen is not safe.
Yeah, they pinged it. They know that this is probably happening as Keen is already Dominus. And there's the paranoia. He dives forward. He's trying to get the stuns in, but it just does not work.
Another wave denied. Multiple waves denied. Another cannon going down here. Zeus just putting flames on it, saying, look at all the gold burning up. And every single equalizer getting value here for Zeus. His first two, denying waves from Keen, who finally got 6. We have not seen a top gap like this in a long time. I mean, this is insane. He is 50 CS up at 8 minutes. Keen is like Taeyun when he got pushed out of that one game earlier this season by Lehens. This is like twice as bad as that.
No, this is
oh my god.
This is not okay. And I don't know whether there's any way that KT can actually deal with it, as Faker is going to turn into a minion, make his way back towards this mid lane. And still level 6 here. And as you can see, oh my goodness. Keria has 20 CS and Keen has 25. Like, that's the story. That's what we're telling here. Is Lehens, he wants to come up and try and at least get Keen a wave or two. Yes, you know, that level 6 that we were talking about before, but it's level 8 on Zeus.
This is just a heavy commitment now to try to get some of that bounty gold and try to get some plates here, but it's really risky for KT, but I mean, I guess you got to try something.
Yeah, they do manage to find the Glacial Prison. Zenith Blade connects this time, and Zeus could be going down. He has the Ignite. It's ticking, but he's not going to fall.
I think you got to double down on this, or it's going to be a disaster. Keria has ult. He's wrapping around.
And now it's their turn to try and deny this wave. There's the flash forward from Keen. They don't find the stun though. Zeus is still here, still alive.
Dead.
And BDD's going to move over. Keria is just going to solo out the Leona, as Lehens not having a great time. Cuz getting low as Faker moves on in. Nico not quite going to be able to find it here as he turns into a minion. Cuz moves in. There's the Pop Blossom, finds 2! And Zeus is going to find the Harpoon. He still has basically 0 health. Faker's going to flash away, and there's at least a kill to go over to BDD.
I mean, Keen's chasing Faker down. He's like, why won't he die? Oh, right, I've only got a longsword in my inventory. I've got nothing. I have no stats. And I said we were going to know who's going to win this game when it crests 20. It's cresting 10, and we have our answer. This game is over at this point. Atlas is topside here. This is just another denial of minions here for Keen. He flashes forward, or dashes forward rather, tries to set up the stun here. Zeus just walks it out, but he will lose all of those minions, can't clear them all. And then here, he does very little damage. They layer the CC beautifully, but Zeus just gets the shield here, turns around. Then they're like deciding, do we actually fight this one out? He plays respectfully here, and then Lehens, of course, is going to lose this 1v1 down a level. Doesn't have ult. Keria can ignite him to death, and then after this, Keen and Cuz chase way too far. Good spell shield from Oner denies Keen's stun, and he's just a handbag at this point. Look at how little damage he does to Faker here and the opportunities he has to Q him. Faker pop blossoms and just walks away casually. The flash does come out, and yes, Keria will die for this, but so much value. And everything was committed topside for this, and they still come up relatively empty.
Yeah, no, this is a ridiculous level of dominance here in this early game. And I think T1 may have taken game 1 pretty personally, as it was a bit slower, but it was definitely extraordinarily one-sided in the favor of KT.
And I just don't think KT have been tested like this season. Like, there's never been a game where they've been this far behind, and this is a best-of-5 series where a loss like this could definitely get in your head. If you felt like this was going to be an easy series, you're really confident, and then you get just obliterated like this, and I think they're making some aggressive plays, and obviously if it fails, yeah, T1's going to get further ahead, but you have to make attempts like that on the top side or you're just going to lose the game by default, but they're just a hair away from getting something out of that play, but T1 just get further and further ahead. I think T1, with this kind of a lead, there's no question that KT is losing this second game, but how can they recover mentally? Unless some miracle team fights happen. I mean, there's only bounty on Rumble right now, so even if you kill everyone else, it's not going to be additional gold just yet.
They're going to see whether they can stop this Rift Herald charge. The Drake has spawned. It's only an ocean, but still, trying to deny the stacking is going to be a great thing, because going to be able to poke its eye, but now T1 able to use that priority and move towards this Drake pit, as there's a nice hook onto Lehens. He does have Eclipse, and he's going to go aggressively, finds himself a stun onto Gumayusi. He's now going to chase down the Leona, turns his attention now as the Emperor's Divide is going to get spell shielded beautifully. BDD makes his way out, but it's not going to be enough, and Keen kind of wishes he had more than $50 in his bank account, because he's just not doing enough.
Yeah, he just really isn't. Faker, by the way, not even pop blossoming in that initial part of the fight. Guma, another cash in. This one actually relevant. The last one was somewhat relevant, but he's got so much money now, 6,000, so 2,000 ahead of aiming. And it was just one kill earlier for the Draven. You're like, okay, well, that's not completely on fire, right? It's not a 50 CS lead like top lane, right? Well, with this cash in now, it certainly is definitely looking pretty doomed. Is he's going to go ahead and go back and buy that Triforce. And, VDD, he picks up a kill in this game early, but he's still not ahead of the curve and won't be able to make the same impact if there's no follow-up damage, unfortunately for him. And we'll see what he ultimately ends up building this game around. As down here in this fight, it's optimistic at best to contest this. Look at aiming where he isn't anywhere near this fight when the Hens decides to commit into the stun. Keria gets permafrosted here. They do commit to try to kill him. BDD completely whipping the Emperor's Divide, will still get out. But Keen, he does no damage. Like, it's actually kind of appalling to watch. Like, you see that, you're like, is that a bug? Or no, he just actually can't hurt people.
No, he just can't. He's got an Iron Spike whip that in a lot of other games would have just been a Gore Drinker already completed. He's trying his best to catch whatever waves he's going to be given. Plate's going to fall down in 5 seconds time. Aiming has his Dust Blade done. There is at least a crown built here for BDD as he's going to park himself. And like, KT have found some great team fights in the past, but I just don't know whether you can even team fight your way out of this one. It's feeling just a little bit too doomed.
It's hard to out-macro your way out of this one. Like, stuff like this, BDD's got his crown now. He's just waiting for Faker, hoping maybe he wins a 1v1 if he rotates up to Herald. But guess what? T1 know he's missing, so I think Faker will play respectfully. He doesn't even have to force. He has TP, could come over here with that instead of walking through. So BDD is just really hopeful that Faker, the greatest player of all time, will just be like, I don't know where he is. Maybe I'll walk through.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit hopeful to me, but T1 still not actually hard committing to a fight or anything like that, just kind of casually taking the subjective.
All right, they're going to look for Gumayusi. There's the paranoia as they look to kill him. They will be able to take him down. And now it could be another one as Oner's going to explode. It's a double for aiming.
And you know what? Maybe he was just looking for Guma to come back to mid and catch that wave. He wasn't looking for Faker, and he found the kill he was looking for. And that is going to be a little bit of money here to KT. Rolster won't be able to contest the Herald, won't be able to stop this top turret from going down, which will be first brick without the Herald. But at least BDD's weight there comes up with something.
Yeah, and it's going to be assists onto Keen. Like, we need to keep a check on to see whether Keen is actually a champion yet. Right now, no, not quite. Could potentially try and freeze a wave or two, but here it is.
Look at the extended range here that he engages from through the Raptor pit. I did not see that one coming, and he goes right onto Guma as the wave crashes. That was about as hard forced as you could make it, but it is successful this time. And BDD, flashing for the play, is going to pick up some additional money here for aiming.
There's no way that KT wins this game, right?
I just don't see it, man. I still don't see it. I didn't see BDD getting anything out of that. I apologize to everyone.
Yeah. I've lost hair over similar situations. I'm just letting you know. What do you want to bet for it?
I'll shave for the finals.
Oh!
Face for the finals if KT win this game.
And that is actually a big deal. Like, Wolf's bearded face is on pizza packets. You know, like, this is
I'll
big.
do it. I'm committing. If KT win this one, shave on my face.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you heard it here first.
But I'm not worried at this moment in time.
Hey, trust me, I wasn't worried either. Lehen's going to be able to clear out some vision, but Oner, full control of the map right now. The main thing that you need to look at is this Rumble, who is 3-0-3, has his Demonic Embrace, looking towards that Night Harvester, and he is so massive.
Yeah, I mean, he has so much money. He picked up the Dark Seal as well early on. Hasn't been able to stack too much for it. I mean, 4 is pretty nice, but, it's not like he's absolutely dumpstering every single fight, so hasn't been able to snowball that to 10. I mean, it's 17 minutes into the game, but he's huge. Faker is going to be able to set up engagements. The Collector is done. So if Faker hits anybody, and then Zeus layers the ultimate, and then Guma layers his ultimate, it doesn't even matter how many auto attacks Guma does. The fight just kind of ends like that.
Yeah.
There isn't really an angle for, like, what if Guma gets caught by Emperor's Divide? It's very unlikely. He got caught in mid trying to catch a wave. In 5v5, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Aiming, trying to hit some of that poke. He is still fairly relevant in this game with the kills he's picked up. This turret is going to disappear. Yeah. And fighting for this Drake, this sole point, is just not realistic for KT. They have no control whatsoever. Faker is holding the choke point with his Pop Blossom.
And opening up the map just becomes so hard. As okay, Solar Flare connects onto Gumayusi, but not too much more is going to happen. Keria takes a piercing arrow, and that is about it. Collector done for Gumayusi as well. About half an item ahead of aiming right now as Zeus is moving on down. This soul point should definitely come on in.
He got Gore Drinker and was able to take away some of that farm on the top side. Small victories here, going to TP to actually get the bounty as KT sell the idea that they're going to contest this and they'll just pick up some bounty gold. It's a small victory here for KT, the greater victory being that soul point, but I like the decisiveness here from Keen to just make the call to grab some gold for the rest of his squad here, split across the team. Because winning this fight, I think, was an impossibility, even if he shows up. They just have no control of chokes, they're way behind in items, and he's just going to pick up bounty gold. He's fine.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get it. And there we go. Not even having to deal with the backdoor bonus or anything like that. And so Keen gets the local gold here as well. Actually kind of big. He's probably dead. As the ward comes down, there's Paranoia. And he presses Dominus and stuff like that. But
he's not worth money. It's okay, right?
Yeah, they're going to give the kill to Zeus as well. Oh my goodness. That is absurd. It's okay. Faker might be traded for here. As Pop Blossom comes in, doesn't find anything, and BDD is going to be able to lock that one down. So a 1-for-1 handbag for Nico.
Yeah, handbag for Nico. He did get the full 300 actually from that, and we'll pick up 2 additional Dark Seal stacks. So still worth it to kill that Crocodile, but he got gold for the rest of his team. And BDD, that wave is deleted mostly. He's going to be close here. I don't know if he can get this. I guess maybe just a few more of these.
Maybe just stays in and uses his Shifting Sands in order to get that shield. So he's going to be able to take that one down as well. Double bounty gold.
Okay.
All right. We are within 4,000 gold now. It was close to an 8,000 gold lead much earlier in the game. So
my bigger concern, I mean, the gold lead was always going to be massive, right? And some of that's diminished, but the next concern becomes for KT, how do you set up on objective fight?
Yeah, how do you actually fight for a dragon?
Because you can pick up some gold here, and then there's still a team fighting composition here, but how do you fight for a Baron? How do you fight for a dragon? As this is just Keen getting caught here, obviously for committing for his turret and the bounty there. I think worth it for KT ultimately, especially with Faker dying in the cross map. So it does end up being fine. Faker does just get caught here by the ultimate despite trying to use his dash cannon to get out. And they pick up a lot of bounty gold here, but setting up for objectives, getting vision control, and like as you can see here with Nocturne, Nico, it's hard to actually just exist on the map for KT. So that's another problem they're going to have to solve here. The gold lead has dipped, but doesn't solve the fundamental problem of how League of Legends works when you are behind against Nocturne, Nico, Draven, and Rumble.
Yeah, not to mention the outer turret is still up on the bottom side of the map for T1 to come on over and collect. They're looking for a Baron first. Immediate vision does come down, so KT, they can get over here. You can see T1 set up on flanks in multiple areas. As Cuz actually in the lead. The Equalizer is not exactly fantastic, but the depth charge is. There's the Pop Blossom as well! The Emperor's Divide finds 4, but it's the Azir just popped like a balloon. Decent damage there as Keria's going to go down. They get the Rumble. Keen is going to die. The cash-in comes through for Gumayusi. But I don't think they're going back to the Baron right now because it was a 2-for-2.
I mean, aiming, doing a ton of damage in these fights. He's still very relevant in this game. He's the one champion here with Azir, I guess you could say, that is going to be able to do a lot of damage in these fights if T1 overextend or they're not able to instantly delete those targets. Now, Guma picked up a ton of money here as well, as you mentioned, but it's a very sloppy fight. As Guma sitting on this controller, takes some of that poke. They find the engage here onto the Sejuani. Nautilus ult is fantastic. The crown mitigates a little bit of this. BDD, though, critically, as he dies, still gets off a decent amount of damage with his Emperor's Divide. The team is now split on the top part here on the right side of this wall over the river. And Keen, despite having no items, will make the play happen. And with aiming being at full health, just firing, free firing into those health bars, they can't push for anything further. The Baron is denied.
For now.
For now.
By the way, if KT do manage to pull off the miracle and they win the series, please vote for Keen. Because I've never seen a top laner's mental survive a game, like an early game experience like that, ever.
We will have to see how it goes before I'm going to say I will commit to that one. I'll say I'll commit to shaving my face before I commit to
that's fair. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
But
he'd get POG in my heart, you know. It's pretty impressive that Keen hasn't just completely.
he has not just fallen over. And
no, he hasn't. And it's still a 30 CS gap, right? It's still a massive lead for Zeus in this game, but Keen has been able to try and find whatever he can and just try and be that front line for the rest of his teammates.
Tilt proof, you know, I'll give him that one.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That. And
the Oner goes straight to Keen.
Yeah.
Straight to Keen. It's Cloud Soul, though, that's going to be available in 20 seconds' time. And T1, they can move over and collect that. That makes map control much better as Faker comes in. They get the stopwatch out of aiming. And BDD goes golden as well. Can they actually mitigate this as the paranoia dives into the backline? Oner has to flash away, though. It's a bit split, but the equalizer is decent. Keen dashing forward, trying to find Gumayusi. The permafrost comes in. Can they kill him? No, they can't. As Gumayushi's free hitting, it's a triple kill. And BDD is burning. Aiming, trying to get them low, but T1, even with their low health bars, they're heading towards the Baron.
All right, how brave is aiming? Is he going to come over here and try to fire at these players taking Baron? Looks like instead they're going to take Soul away from T1 here, the first of the Drakes here for KT. Their health's so low, it's actually quite tricky to pull this one off. They can't even do it. Uh-oh, KT, you start to see some decisions like this, and you start to worry. I think the better call might have been, if you're aiming, maybe to see if you can get lucky and fire some arrows over that wall and see if you can kill those low health members. As T1, this could not be more disjointed. I mean, look at Faker, Guma. They follow up on this. There's a ton of peel here in this composition. The stopwatch is great for BDD. If they actually had money, if they weren't super massively behind, and Renekton was an actual champion here, this could have been disastrous for T1. But the wallets, as you often say, are extremely heavy here. And yes, T1 do end up giving Faker over, but it's a 1 for 3. And they're still going to be able to turn that into a Baron take. And ultimately, KT decide to try to start Drake fail because of the low health bars, and T1 will get Soul as well. And it's just really grasping at straws here for KT. Even T1's weakest and messiest engage isn't ultimately going to be enough to get them back into this one.
Yep, not enough. And T1 now with Cloud Soul, my personal favorite, as well as the Baron. They're going to be able to take down this outer turret very comfortably. Keria just occupying the flank, making sure that KT don't try and rotate over. They're not going to be able to do so. Keen is towards that top side, trying to make sure that that lane is as long as possible so that T1 can't take everything. And he is actually going to be left alone. So this tower should actually be traded. Some bounty gold coming in, of course. The map is going to open up to the point where Oner can get in and look for the inner turret in mid lane.
This is the top lane experience. I'm telling you, Keen is just like, all right, well, I guess I'll get bounty gold for my team if they're grouping. That's all you can do in these situations sometimes. He is going to pick it up.
Yeah, Equalizer comes down just to try and guarantee this turret. There's the flash, 3-man Pop Blossom. Empress Divide comes in, but it does absolutely nothing. It's a double for Guma as well. And they're going to continue pushing here towards this inhibitor turret. I don't think T1 are going to stop. As Keria tanks it up initially, they are now going to break open the base. T1, they are fed up. They do not want to give KT any opportunities back into this one, and they will not. They could even keep pushing here and look for a Nexus turret as Keen. He's pressed the dominance button. Can they actually do anything, though, as he slice and dice, and now he's dead. Cuz trying to find something if he can, but the Nexus turrets are falling. A hook is going to connect there as Cuz is just going to get whittled down. Gumayusi just too massive on this Draven. They will be able to take the Nexus and even out the series.
An absolute stomp here.